I believe in aliens. I believe in exorcism. Because you know that what trauma's like because you've been through it, and that's why you're like that. Society today where it's like, how do I fix this the fastest I can fix it? Why do you need to be surrounded by shit all the time? Like, why?
Welcome to Tea with Tori. I'm your host, Tori, and today the tea is hot.
What's up, spillers? Welcome to a new episode of Tea with Tori. I'm your host, Tori, and today I have a very special guest. I have Tara.
Hello.
She is the owner of Pura Vita, and I'm obsessed with it. So that's actually, I was just telling her, she was like, how did you find me? I was like, kind of weird. I'm obsessed with your restaurant. But yeah, just let the people know who you are, what you do, anything you want to let them know, and then we'll get into the crazy stuff.
Okay. Well, my name is Tara. I own Pura Vita in West Hollywood, Pura Vita Pizzeria, which is right next door, also in West Hollywood, and Pura Vita in Redondo Beach. It's a 100% vegan Italian restaurant with a focus on southern Italy, because that's where my family comes from. And I've been vegan for forever, so it seems only natural that this is what I'm doing.
Like your whole life?
I turned vegetarian when I was 10, and then took me a few years to figure out like the vegan part of it because I was totally on my own. Yeah. So by the time I was like 12, I was full on getting rid of my Doc Martens and giving away my motorcycle jackets. And,
oh my goodness. Yeah. So you're like full,
my
like not even just
pissed.
food, like actual clothes, like hair products, skin, like everything vegan. I love that. What like started that for you? Was it save the animals?
I just love animals.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make any sense to me. Like as a little kid, I never ate. I love animals, but you don't connect what you're eating when you're a kid. Obviously, nobody explains it to you. I would never eat things if they were like on a bone or obvious, because I would just think it was really weird, disgusting, and I would like inspect everything, like because you can see really gross things when you look at
literally.
Yeah. So I would like not eat stuff like that, but like I would eat my mom's meatballs and stuff because it's
things
my
you
mom's
can't
meatballs.
tell.
Like I didn't know. And then in the 5th grade, I had a teacher who showed the class a video of a slaughterhouse, and I was like, oh no, not participating in that anymore. So it took some figuring out, but here we are.
Especially an Italian household, because one of my roommates, I'm reading the book How Not to Die, and it's all about like why in your body you should be a vegan. Like they're like, okay, we get it, we love the animals, but like here's how this is gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Like the animals, literally. And I was telling her all these things, and she's like, I don't know, I'm from an Italian household. Like, I don't think I could, like, not eat meat. Like, when I go see my mom, like, it's barbecues, it's grilling, it's, like, meat. So how did you manage to do that as a kid? Like, because usually it's like, when I went to college or when I, like, started working, I made my own money, I could buy my own food. Like, how did you do that as a child?
I mean, luckily, my parents are, they didn't understand why or how or really any part of it, but they were and still are super supportive of like whatever major decisions I've made in my life. And so they were like, we don't understand, but we want
to support you.
So that means basically that you have to like be in the kitchen with us so that we can figure it out together. And that's how I learned how to cook.
I love that.
Yeah, so
that's amazing.
And that's why I love being in the kitchen, because to me it's like a communal experience. It's like you're with people that you really care about. You're having fun. You're making really nice food. It's like a whole group effort thing, and I really enjoy that. That's why I never liked being a private chef. I like the group effort.
The full thing.
Yeah, I like the chaos and the talking and the yelling and the
whole restaurant vibe.
Yeah.
I worked in a restaurant as a hostess for 3 years, but like you feel that energy because you feel it at the host stand. I worked at Catch in New York, so it was very high energy, very everyone's screaming, everyone's upset, and it's only for like a solid 3 hours in the night. It's like 7 to like 10, everyone's stressed.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then it's like, everything's calm, and everything's so calm before. I've always loved that about restaurants. It's like the calm before the storm, and then like the calm that everyone goes through after. Yeah. And it's like, we don't care how you screamed at us before. We're just happy that we survived.
We got through it.
No one died.
That's the thing too. It's like there's something that really like brings restaurant people close together, and part of that is that chaos, that stress, because you're all feeling it at the same time.
Yeah.
Everybody handles it in a different way, obviously, but like it takes a village. It really does. I mean, it's like you get pretty tight, I love it.
So do you mostly
Jupiter.
Can he be on the podcast with us?
Dude, there's a podcast. It's the Mother's Day podcast that I did with my mom. He was up on the table in her place, and I didn't realize that you could see him. And he's like walking across the whole podcast back and forth. Like there's this one point where his head comes up and I'm like, oh, I'm sure they can see him at that point. I was like, oh, it's Jupiter. But no, the whole podcast. You see like a tail and you see like an ear. Like, what are you doing, sir?
He's a little cutie.
He's a little cutie. He loves to be a lap dog. He's a little service animal. He travels with me.
Really?
He just got back from Puerto Rico. He's a little jet lagged.
Oh.
He gets tired. What time is it? Yep. It's
wanna
like
go back
10
to
p.m.
Puerto
for him,
Rico.
11 p.m. for him right now. I'm there all the time. I love Puerto
Really?
Rico.
So
I'm
beautiful
obsessed
there.
with it. I'm obsessed with, honestly, just like natural island life.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the world is kind of focused so much on industrialization and like making everything mass produced and instant gratification that just like being in an island and just getting to like go to the beach.
Yeah.
And like what people in more industrial places are like, oh, that's just lazy. Like people that do that, those things are lazy. Like, oh, there's siestas, like those are lazy. Like, no, it's people that genuinely want to enjoy their time and enjoy their life and don't want to work like slaves. That's why I had to leave New York.
Yeah.
I was like, the amount that I'm working for the amount that I'm earning and what my quality of life is horrible.
Yeah.
And for me, I was still living at home because I grew up in New York. And I was like, for me to even move out of my home, I would have to move from Manhattan probably to like Queens or Brooklyn or a borough because I'm 18, 19, like working as a hostess. No way I can pay Manhattan rent.
Right.
And that was just like a huge thing for me. I started looking at prices and budgets and stuff for LA, and I was like, not that it's way less expensive
it's
here.
not that much less.
It's not that much less, but the cost of just genuinely living and like rent is crazy in Manhattan. Like you get a bathroom with a toilet with a shower above it, and that's like $3,000 in Soho.
Yeah.
And that's like the whole apartment.
And it comes fully stocked with roaches.
Yep.
And other small beings.
All the beings.
We love all the beings, but we don't love them to live
Not
with us
those
unwelcomed.
beings. They don't pay rent. You're not cute enough to not pay
No,
rent.
exactly.
This guy on my lap,
You
he's
need to be
cute
that
enough
cute.
to not pay rent, so that's fine. But you, Roach, you don't cuddle me. Tux, why do you keep finding the loudest toys in this house during the podcast? I'm not understanding. I just took a squeaky toy from him in the last podcast.
Oh my goodness.
Sir,
Do you want to, are you trying to tell us something?
I'm like, just take it somewhere else. Just don't come squeak over here. So, what would you say is like your staple item that if someone is not a vegan and they come into your restaurant, they're like, Italian vegan food, okay. You're like, you have to get this because it's going to change your mind.
I mean, I guess I always say the carbonara because I guess it's the one pasta dish that I feel the most proud of in some weird way, that like it feels like it satisfies all that kind of, you know, the umami, that flavor and the texture that people who eat meat are looking for, but without having like fake meat. Like
Yeah.
the bacon
Like
is
the Beyonds and
is-
stuff.
Yeah. But the bacon is shiitake mushroom, but it's like just enough that it really just feels like bacon, just
Yeah.
little pieces of it, and it's not like overwhelmingly fake.
Or like mushroom. And
Yeah.
you're like, it's not barely a mushroom at that point.
Yeah. And it's just so rare. It really is so rare, and I hope I'm not jinxing myself that somebody doesn't like it. You know, it's like a...
Sir,
Hi.
it's the stare, though. Like, you're doing something right now. Enough of you. He's like, I can sense she loves animals. She'll be fine with this.
If you want to come and sit in my lap, if that'll make you feel better, just come over here.
I'm like, the odd thing is he would definitely do that.
Do you want to be
But then he would get hot in 3 seconds and want to be on the floor.
But yeah, I mean, I guess that would be the dish in my mind that I would go to. I know that other people, everybody kind of picks whatever their favorite is, I
Yeah.
think, because all the servers have like their favorite thing that they feel like
Is the
will
most
please
normal.
like the big, meat eating dude that's there with his girlfriend, or they're on a date, not even his girlfriend.
Oh
Like,
my God.
that happens so often where you'll like see this couple and you're like, oh man,
She brought him to a vegan
this
restaurant.
Guy's being really polite, and like we want him to enjoy his experience too. You know?
Literally.
So so the carbonara is my go-to personally.
I love that. How much taste testing did you go through before you were like, this is my menu?
Oh geez. Well, the opening menu was like everything that I've just been making for forever.
Yeah.
You know, I've basically been planning this since I'm like 12 years old. So
I love that though. That's why like anytime I talk to someone about Pura Vita, they're like, oh my God, I love that place. And you could like hearing your story, it's because you've loved this place your entire life before you even knew it existed. You've been planning for it, like you said, since you were 12. And I think that definitely comes across, especially when you have something like food, where food is such an emotional experience. It's
Totally.
such a like, the way to a man is through his stomach. Like all those things, food is the home of the house. You can't get through your day without food. And to have food made with love and with like good intention, I feel like that's a total thing people can feel.
yeah. I mean, for me, it's like, I mean, and also coming from an Italian family, everything is about food. You know, you're celebrating something, you eat. Somebody dies, you eat.
Yeah.
Somebody gets married, you eat. Everything's eating. Everything. You're either eating or you're cooking. You're preparing the meal for the next,
Literally.
whatever it is. So it's like
Cooking or cleaning.
It's super important, and it should always be fun, and yeah, like I said, I've been planning this since I'm little, and I mean it. It's like it's part of me. I've taken a long time to figure it out, and I've always just wanted to like share it with other people. I still sometimes want to like pinch myself because I can't believe that
This is your life.
that I get to share it with everybody. Whoever comes, is like they're eating like my food that I was making that dish when I was 17.
Yeah.
Not thinking that like
One
in
day.
however many years, like first of all, that I was going to be in LA. If you told me that, I would have fought you to the death.
Girl,
There's
same.
No way.
Same. I used to make fun of people from LA.
Oh, like,
and now,
oh my God, totally.
Oh my God. Like, yeah, yesterday I went to, what was it, La Cienega, and I went to Prada, and then I was on Rodeo, and then, like, my sugar daddy bought me something.
That's what I thought LA was. I didn't realize that it was like, yo, smoke weed and eat vegan food and do some yoga.
Well, it wasn't always that, but
If someone told me that it was smoke weed, eat vegan food, and do yoga, I would have been here so much longer ago.
I know. And I've been here 10 years. I don't know how that's even
Oh my
possible either.
God.
It's like went by so fast, and it's crazy. It's crazy to think that a decade of my life has been spent in the city because I'm such a New Yorker. Like it hurts
Like
sometimes.
in my bones. And
Yeah.
people are like, would you ever move back? I'm like, absolutely not. But I love New York.
I know,
Don't fucking
me
talk
too.
shit
Like,
about New York.
I do not want to live through another winter ever again, ever in my life. I don't want to be
Worst
there.
thing in the world when the air hurts.
When it hurts and the tips of your ears are like, it's like somebody's cutting them off.
Literally.
Yeah.
When just like your ear canal gets cold and your like head hurts.
And your nose is running and like you don't even know.
You get somewhere and the people are like, are you crying? You're like, no, it's 4 degrees. And the wind chill makes it like -8. What do you mean am I crying? I'm crying because it's cold.
But now if it goes under 60, I have like a coat on. Like
Literally.
I'm freezing.
Especially being out in the valley. I'm like, oh my God, it's so cold. And my New York friends are like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's not even snow.
I know.
There's not even the threat of
bad.
snow.
It's bad. Turn into a serious wimp in that regard.
I was up in Big Bear. My friend from New York is like walking around in a sleeveless shirt, just like chilling. I'm in like my sweatshirt, my leather jacket. I'm like, oh my God, it's so cold. She's
Yeah,
like, you
like,
can't say it's
scarf
cold
or-
unless you need a freaking Canada Goose. You can't be in a sweatshirt and a leather jacket talking about it's so cold to me right now. I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry.
I know, but it's true. It does happen. It's
It
like,
really
you
does.
Really, your body just gets like. I don't know how I lived through that many winters. I didn't know it was an option.
That's what I tell people all the time. They're like, well, how did you do it? I was like, I didn't know you could escape winter.
It's just survival. Like you just have to live through those months. You have to,
And
they
everyone's
drag
doing
on.
it.
That's the only thing about the shitty. Sorry, can I curse?
Yeah.
Oh my God, okay. Sorry. Like in the wintertime, you're so miserable because you don't want to. You leave your house, you go to work, you go to the bar, you go home
Yep.
as fast as you can
It's
from point A to
fast.
point B, and it's just painful. And because of that, the time slows down.
Mm-hmm.
And here, every day is the most beautiful day you ever saw in your whole life. And next thing you know, 10 years has gone by. Like,
Literally.
I don't know what happened. Time just goes so fast here. It's like crazy.
You got to work so hard to be depressed in LA.
Yeah.
whenever someone's like, oh, I'm so depressed, blah, 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 I'm like, go outside, go get some vitamin D, because I could show you depression, and that is New York in January after New Year's Eve, when everyone is broke, it's cold, and anyone that works in any job that's customer service is even more broke because everyone else is broke and just spent their money.
Seriously.
Like, literally working as a hostess during January, I'm like, where are the shifts?
And then how do you be cute? Like, how do you dress as a hostess? How do you go to work?
You go to work in a different
combat
outfit.
Boots on.
You go to work in a whole different
because
outfit.
as soon as you step your foot off the curb, you're in like
Slush.
5 inches of slush. Yeah.
Slush. That's, people don't understand. They're like, oh, it's snowing, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I hate snow. They're like, why do you hate snow? I'm like,
so much.
because the second it snows, New York's disgusting.
It's so gross.
And then it's slush. And it's
Yeah.
brown, gray matter that you don't know how deep it is. So sometimes you step and it's like that thick, and then sometimes you step and it's like that, and now it's in the fucking side of your shoe.
And then it goes in, and you're like, oh, that feeling when it starts dripping down. Oh.
And you're like, your whole day's
No,
terrible then.
it's just
Or you're slipping down the subway steps. I had a hostess have to call out because she fell down the subway steps. And like, that's a real thing. That's a thing that actually happens in New York. You fall down subway steps because of the slush. Like, that's why we're all characters, though. We're just out here like trying to survive, man. I got to LA. I was like, I'm going to chill now. I felt like I retired at 23 moving here.
It makes us more capable, though.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier with like, how did you survive the pandemic with a restaurant? Because she's a freaking New Yorker, man.
Yeah.
Failure's not an option.
It's never an option. You just have to make it work. Whatever it is, there's a way to make it work. Even if it hurts for a few minutes, it's like you just have to get through it. And it'll move forward at some point, you know? I guess we're moving forward. It's a weird form of moving forward.
It's like no one really said it was done, but people are like leaving the concert.
Well,
you know what I mean? Like no one said like, oh, we're done. Have a great night, everybody. Like the pandemic's over, but like people are still
and they're like
leaving already.
No,
Literally.
no.
Thanks, Pox.
Should we have another indoor mask mandate? I'm like, you can have one, but I'm good.
That's the wildest thing to me. I never understood how, as you walk through the restaurant, you're at risk for COVID, but once you sit in the chair,
You're good.
You're no longer at
no,
risk.
you're all good.
COVID only attacks you while you walk through restaurants.
Yeah.
Never, like the whole, I'm sitting at my table, I'm eating. If I want to go to the bathroom, I have to put a mask on. I'm more contagious walking around. And like, I understand, okay, like other people, but like everyone else is maskless in here too. Like I feel like if you chose to do things that weren't mandatory to your survival during the pandemic, don't be a freaking asshole.
Yeah.
Like if you're not cooking at your house and you're choosing to go to a restaurant with other people, don't be crazy.
Well, and that's the thing too, and the reason why I would never follow through with another mask mandate, even though they're saying they're not going to do it, is because people are like already angry. It's something happened, and like people are all tweaked out and angry and aggressive about the strangest things. I mean, forget about masks. They're just angry in general now, you know? So it's like, it's hard enough because it's like you're in the service industry. You want people to be having a good time. It's, if you worked in the front of the house of a restaurant, you know how complicated it can be. And then you have like those people who will come to the front and start yelling at the host.
Oh, I love those people.
That made me didn't make a reservation and it's a Friday night at 8:00 and we don't have any place to put you. And you're going to yell at my host because you didn't plan your life.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. 100%. Or the people, I made a reservation. It's in there. And I'm like, okay, what's your name? Oh, blah, blah, blah. I don't see that. Oh, well, I made it. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Can you show me the confirmation email? I didn't get one. You didn't make a reservation.
Right.
Ain't no way.
You're right.
Ain't no way.
But it was a reservation for 20. Okay.
And then I'll look and it'll be like a month from now. And I'm like, you made a reservation for April, my guy. It's
oh my
March.
God, that happens so much.
And it's always shitty because, like, of course, if you've wound up in customer service, usually you want to please people in some way. So I'm like, I know, I'm sorry, it's your anniversary, but, like, it's Friday and it's 9:30 and we are not even turning tables like that. People with reservations are waiting 45 minutes. You need to find a high top in the bar.
Yeah. And then they go, is the chef here? I know her. And they're like, she doesn't even know how to use this app. What do you think she's going to do? Kick somebody out of their table?
Literally.
So you could sit down?
Stuff like that would happen at Catch all the time. There's this one time that I think was hands down the funniest shit I've ever seen working at the front desk. One of the owners was standing by the front desk and someone was causing a fucking scene. Pissed off, For whatever reason, she didn't get her reservation. She didn't get the table she wanted. Once we sat her, she was livid. And I'm dealing with it because at this point, I'm the maitre d'. I'm not even the hostess. So when someone has an issue with the hostess, they go, you can speak to our maitre d'. I'm the line of defense before the managers. So she's talking to me, blah, blah, blah. I know the owner. One of them's right here. There was 3. So I was like, okay, maybe she doesn't know this one. Maybe she knows one of the other ones. But I feel like if you know one of them, you would at least know who the other 3 owners are. She says his name. He literally looks up at her, laughs, and walks away because she was name dropping someone that was right in front of her that she didn't even know who the person was. Embarrassing.
Jeez.
That was fabulous. But I feel like you definitely have to go through people like thinking they deserve better treatment or special treatment because they know you. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's
and if you do know me, if you do in fact know me well, those people, which I laugh at also occasionally, will text me, at 7:00 on Friday night, like, hey, we're on our way. Is there any chance we can get a table? But at least they have the forward thinking to
ask
send me
before
the
they're
message
here.
so that I can try to set it up. I get a 30-minute leeway to figure it out,
Yeah.
If you just show up, it's well, I don't know. All of the tables are full. What do you
grab a drink. I'll let you know when one is
stand
empty.
at the end of the bar and eat your pasta.
Oh my God.
That has happened many times.
So how long has Pura Vita been open?
The restaurant, the original restaurant in West Hollywood, we're about to celebrate our 4-year anniversary on September 5th. Well, actually, September 4th we're going to celebrate because we're closed on Mondays, and that is the 5th. But it also happens to be the day after my birthday, so we're going to have a little combo party.
Oh, I love that.
But anyway, we turned 4 in the beginning of September, and the pizzeria has been 2 years, and Redondo's been 1.5 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What brought you to LA? How'd you get
COVID
dragged
babies. I got dragged here by a man, like you do.
I got dragged here by a man, but it was a manager, so it's different situation. I'm about to get dragged to Puerto Rico by a man, so I feel you.
That's not so bad.
Not so bad. I'm not mad about it at all.
Yeah.
But it's
To
definitely
move?
at least 50% of my time.
Oh, sweet deal.
Because he's out there 100% pretty much. He's in training camp, and now he's has a whole new project that has him out there even more so than he already was. So
That's
it's
awesome.
either go or don't see your boyfriend.
Yeah, well, that was kind of, and I initially was well, I'm not moving to LA. I'm not. When we first met, I was like, oh, he was already moving here.
Oh,
he had already
shit.
given up his apartment and everything. He was moving out in 2 months.
And you thought this is the perfect time to start a relationship
No,
with this man.
I even said to him on the first date, well, what is the point of us seeing each other
Why are
again?
we here?
Because I will never, ever live in LA. You couldn't pay me enough money to live in LA. Oops.
Are you still with him? Because that would be
yes.
funny. Oh my goodness. He's like, how's it going 10 years later, babe?
Yeah.
You would never live in LA?
He's I brought you here. I'm responsible for your 3 restaurants. I'm okay, slow down. buddy.
Let's pump the brakes, my guy. That's like when your dad's like, I created you. And your mom's like, hold on,
Yeah.
sir. Hold on. The gestation period was much longer.
My dad's line is, I taught her everything she knows. Which
You're
is
like, so the
partially
good and the bad, sir?
true. Yeah. Well, yeah.
I love that. So he was like, how long did it take him to convince you?
Well, he came and I didn't, and then that sucked. And I came back and forth for the first year. I came here 3 or 4 times for extended periods of time.
Yeah. That's how it starts.
Yeah, and I was just okay, this is cool, I guess. And I was in between. So I was about to try to open a restaurant in Brooklyn, and then we had submitted all the paperwork to the city, and they said it was going to take 5 years to get the permitting because it was above a subway station, and there was all these
fumes and
supports and stuff that needed to be
shit.
put into the whatever. Who cares?
Too many things.
5 years.
5 years
long
too fucking long.
time. So then I was like, well, I can go to LA and inevitably hate it and move back, and by then maybe I'll be closer to being able to open that restaurant. And so I just kind of was like, fuck it, let me just try not to fuck up another relationship based on only what I want.
Yeah.
And
What's your sign?
I'm a Virgo. I'm such an annoying Virgo.
I was like, you got to be an earth sign with that one.
And so, I was also just like, I can go. Brooklyn's not going anywhere. I'll feel it out, and then I'll just come back if that's what I need to do. You know what I mean? And my family was like, oh, she'll be back in 6 months. I mean,
Literally.
no one thought for a second that it was going to
stick.
Were
you like avidly?
I moved my parents here.
Same. My parents live 15 minutes away. I was like, my guy, all your kids live out here. You're going to die out here because at a certain point you won't be able to take care of yourself. And I'm out here. So might as well activate the process now.
I wanted to be able to take care of them. And I couldn't keep going back to New York. I mean, it's like really far. It's not
also,
like it's like
imagine being old in that weather.
No,
it's hard being young in that weather.
Yeah.
Imagine being like feeble and like older.
Yeah.
And trying to get around in slush.
Yeah, or slipping on ice. Even just the simplest thing, like
Literally.
that can like send you into a downward spiral that you can't come out of.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't imagine being there through that, and I can't imagine my parents being 80 in their 80s and tiptoeing around.
Absolutely not.
And I just can't imagine being far away from them because we're like super tight and.
Same. That's where I was when I first moved here. I was going back every 3 months, and then my best friend moved out here, and it got a little bit more extended.
Yeah,
it was
my
like
best friend moved out here too. We're like on the same path.
It was like every 6 months. And my parents were like, "When are you coming back?" I was like, "Honestly, the only reason I even come back to New York is to see you guys." And my mom was trying to come out here all the time. Then the pandemic happened, and it turned into like, "When am I ever going to see you again? Just come out and stay with us in LA." It's the middle of winter in New York, like. You have to get in an elevator just to go to the grocery store. Absolutely not. And that's when you thought, like, COVID can stay on a surface for up to 2 weeks. I'm like, they're going to die. My parents are going to die if they stay in New York. So they came out here for a month and a half, and my mom obsessed. My dad is like, New York has always been his thing. He grew up in Baltimore and was like, I just want to live in New York. So the fact that he did, he was like, this is all I've ever wanted. But life changes, life moves, and your kids, which is what you actually have all your energy and time and focus and what you want to be near, more so than a city, is across the country.
Yep.
I would just be like, what if I got into an accident? Like, you would literally have to book a plane ticket, wait 6 hours before you could even be anywhere near me.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about LAX. Like, that's a whole nother hour. But you would literally have to take at least 6 hours before you could even see me. That could be life or death.
Literally.
You shouldn't be that far from people that are that important in your life and that literally that important in your life. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's too far.
Good for us.
Uh-huh.
That wasn't easy. I don't know. It sounds like you had an easier.
Hard.
Oh, it was not
It was
easy
hard.
to get my parents here, but because my brother is still back there and his kids and.
That's what was easier for me as all my siblings and I came out here. We like empty nested my parents real quick all together because we were in a musical group and we moved out here together to sign to a manager. So I was like, oh, your kids are here.
Oh, okay. So
you
were
gotta
motivated.
come. But they're also super close with their parents. My grandmother's like a 2-hour drive, and then my nana was like a 3-hour drive. So they would go see their parents on the weekends. So they're like, we're leaving our parents. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, my
Everyone's
grandparents
there.
are long gone, so that I didn't have to contend with that.
I have all my
Can't even
grandparents.
imagine
So.
my grandparents living in LA. They'd be like,
I want my grandma to move out here.
they would not have.
I
even
especially want my grandparents to move out here. I'm trying to get them to go vegan. It's a very huge thing because of the book I'm reading, How Not to Die. It talks about all the diseases and everything that happens in your body. I'm like, y'all are old.
Yeah.
You should not be eating meat. Like, every time you eat meat, you're like rolling the dice on whether this is the time you get cholesterol in your heart in the wrong way and you die. Like,
Yeah, for
this is
real.
gambling at this point.
It's terrifying. My father has had a heart attack and a stroke, and both of his parents died from heart disease. They don't want to hear it. I mean, they've changed a
They're not
lot.
vegan?
No.
My parents are vegan.
Really? I've tried.
It's hard.
I've tried just to get them to stop eating meat, let alone be vegan.
Yeah, they're like
they-
vegetarian.
They won't do it.
Will they stop eating pork?
They won't do it. They stopped eating red meat.
Okay.
And it's
That's
like my mom stopped eating red meat like 25 years ago when I was younger. My dad was like, whatever. He doesn't really care either way. He kind of just does whatever my mom does, you know?
That's what my dad was like, oh, you cook all the meals, so if
Yeah,
you're going
whatever.
vegan, I guess I'm a vegan.
Yeah. Yeah, like if my mom was like, we're going to be vegan, he'd be like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your mom's the one you got to convince.
Yeah, it's not happening. It's surely not happening.
You just got to heavily educate her. Just make her watch all the Netflix documentaries.
I have tried all the angles. They are not interested. And now they say to me, when you're this age, it's hard to change. I'm like, Ma, it's been like 30 plus years I've been trying, and now you're telling me when you're this age? What was your excuse
30 years ago. What was that?
Yeah, just say you don't wanna. Like,
literally. I hate when people do that wishy-washy thing and then you like try to convince them. I'm like, and they'll get mad. I'm like, if you just said no or that you didn't want to do something, I wouldn't even try to convince you because I would respect your boundaries.
Yeah.
But when you go, I don't know, I'm like, oh, this is my time to shine. I'm gonna convince you. Let's go. Like,
let me list all the reasons.
let me list every single reason and all the things that are gonna happen to you. I got my brother to pretty much stop drinking milk though. I've always hated milk. I think milk is fucking weird.
It is so weird.
I don't understand why you would drink the milk from this animal but not from another animal. Like, would y'all drink breast milk? Would you drink goat milk? Would you like dog's milk? I don't get it. So like, why can we drink cow milk? Who decided
It's
that was
so
that was a
nasty.
fine milk?
No.
Like, which farmer was chilling and he was like, you know what? This cow.
This is the
this
one.
cow. This is the one. This is great. I'm gonna drink this. Like, like what?
And also, like, who was the first person to be like, let me get in there. Let me get a little squeeze on that.
Well, a huge thing in this book is like a lot of the diseases that are in the human population now come from us trying to domesticate animals. Like literally all of them. Swine flu, like all these things that we have now in the human population because it jumped species comes from us trying to domesticate animals that are not supposed to be domesticated because you're supposed to catch them in the wild if you ever eat them, like once a fucking month. Like our ancestors did not eat meat for all 3 meals every day.
Oh God, who eats meat for all 3 meals every day?
Most people.
Oof.
Think about it. For breakfast, you have like a BLT or a bacon, egg, and cheese. Especially in New York, you have a bacon, egg, and cheese in the morning from
That's true.
the little corner store. Then for lunch, you probably have some type of sandwich or salad or pasta dish with chicken
A
or with
turkey
beef.
sandwich on a Kaiser roll. That was from my mother.
Literally. Oh my God, I love it.
Nobody even knows what a Kaiser roll is.
No,
out here.
they're like, what? I was like, where are the bodegas out here? They're like, bodegas. I'm like, a bodega.
They're like, that's the storage unit. And I'm like, oh, right, okay.
I'm like, a bodega. I need a cat.
I'll adjust my
I need
words.
a small cat that defends the bodega. I need multiple people that don't speak English but are the nicest people you've ever met. And I need it fully stocked with all the snacks. And they got to make food to there too.
And also tampons, cat food.
Everything.
And whatever
Anything
you randomly need at
you
that
could
moment.
need. It's like a 7-Eleven but better because it's got energy, it's got grit, it's got heart, it's New York. I love a bodega. That's something that I wish was out here, but there's no foot traffic for like the necessity of a bodega.
I know.
Like,
I
when
was
would I
actually
ever
thinking, wouldn't it be cool to just to do it, just to open like a vegan bodega?
Oh, that'd be so
Like just
cool.
to call it bodega.
Bodega.
The bodega, yeah.
You could literally do that and people out here wouldn't even know that you had stolen it from New York.
Yeah.
They would not know. People from New York would come out and be like, this is so cool. There's a bodega. And I love it because it's a Spanish word. It's just like, we just...
Yeah, it means the storage.
Literally.
That's why when I first got here and I was like, oh, it's like a bodega. And they're like, no, that's the bodega. And I'm like, what?
You're like, we're not connecting. I'm not sure what's wrong.
I understand that actually means something here. Because it's
love
not like,
that.
I mean, it's not like I didn't work with Latino people in New York, but they didn't
didn't tell you.
explained that to me.
Well, it's because even the Latino people in New York call it a bodega. Like, it's a bodega. That's what it is. Like, if you talk to people, you're like, oh, did you get that from the bodega? That's literally what it is. Like, no one says the corner store. Like, no one says, like, the deli. Like, I wouldn't even know what to call it if not a tiny
a deli
store.
is a different thing. Totally a different thing
There are deli meats at the bodega
that you don't want to eat.
that you don't want to eat because... Ugh.
God knows how long they've been sitting there. Where they came
You know
from.
they are not
Who's
actually
touched them?
boar's head. You know they're just in the wrapper. You try to ignore it because you're a cheap kid. You got $4 and you still got to get Doritos and an iced tea because you can't not have a Bev in New York. You'll get crucified for that. You want to say something?
Hi, cutie.
No?
Is this a good time to take a drink? It's going to be loud.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Sorry. I don't know why I wrote the loudest thing on earth to drink.
I
on.
honestly recently started thinking about, like, wait, if I'm going vegan, I should probably make him go vegan. Yeah, you.
Oh, yeah.
You should be vegan too.
Doggies can be vegan.
Of course. My parents' dogs are vegan.
Really?
And then they come over here and
Oh my God, your parents. I love them.
my parents do yoga every day. They're life coaches. They're vegan.
They must be very young.
They're 55, 56. This
okay.
all happened within like the past 3 years. When I started out my whole life vegetarian because my mom was a vegetarian almost her whole life. Her dad is a chiropractor, so very holistic, like upbringing. No immunizations. Everyone is vegetarian. No meat. So until I was like 2.5 when she got pregnant with my sister and started craving chicken, we were all vegetarian in the house. My dad ate vegetarian because my mom cooked and she cooked vegetarian. So then she started craving chicken. So chicken started coming in. And then she had my brother.
To be so
craving
much
that.
a certain way and then to suddenly
switch.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
I never understand how people do that. Like have people like that have been vegan for 10 years and then all of a sudden you see them like eating a steak and it's like,
you're like, what?
And they're like, well, I read that if you get locally
sourced animal protein.
If it's what is it called? Humane.
Grass-fed, pasteurized, humane, all the things they put on it to like try to make you forget that an animal was probably painfully slaughtered so that you could eat a steak.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you could be slaughtered without pain.
I mean, there's like
unless they shoot you up before.
There's like the shot in the head, and then there's like those videos you see of like all the cows standing there and like the things closing in on them. Like that's got to be way worse than getting shot in the head.
And then turned upside down and just gutted.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah. Fun.
I think the only thing that's worse than that, which that's horrible, but it's seeing the lack of regard from human beings because they're so desensitized from that being a living thing. Like when you see them like throwing animals and like throwing baby cows and like into things and like kicking them and stuff. I'm like, how are you so desensitized?
Like the people who work there?
Yeah. Like the employees that have become so desensitized to the fact that what they're
person though. Like you have to already be a different kind of person to even do that. And then
you have water in the room. You don't need my water.
But look at those eyes.
You're so vocal about everything. I know there's water in the room because I put it in before this episode. So go drink your water. You can't have my water. I'm putting it over here so you can't tap on it. You can stare at it though. And you can stare at me.
Those big eyes.
Giant eyes. And they've been the same size since he was this big. Are we related? You have to be. It's got to be. Do you have any animals?
Too, though,
I know.
Actually, so.
Literally, I have giant eyes.
Well, like the giant eye club over here.
Do you have any animals?
I just lost my
I'm sorry.
kitty of 19 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Charlie.
Oh.
He was my little black cat.
So he moved with you.
My baby, yeah. He was a Brooklyn kitty. And he wasn't afraid of anything. And
you can't be in New York.
No, but he loved it out here, though. He loved it so much. He would sit on the balcony all like, he loves the sun. He was happy out here.
Did you get another cat?
Not yet. It was pretty recent, so yeah. And then this cat, as Charlie was sort of passing, like that last week, I had all these conversations with, this is really dark, but where I was like telling him to like, that I want him to like choose the next little soul that, should be with me. And then this cat started showing up like every day, and I was so excited because this cat was so sick looking. Like he was this big fat, I don't mean sick like he looked sick. I mean like he was so cute.
Cool,
He was such a cool looking cat. He was this big fat cat with a gold chain around his neck. So I started calling him Biggie. And I waited
so
like
cute.
a long time. Like I just went outside and played with him every day, and he would like call me from below the balcony so that we would come downstairs. And I asked everybody in my building, and they were like, oh, he's abandoned, blah, blah, blah. I ended up buying him all this stuff. I brought him to the vet. He had a chip. They called the lady. She was pissed. She was so pissed. And because I guess she didn't abandon him, somebody was taking care of him for her because she got into an accident. She was in the hospital.
Oh my God.
But the guy who was taking care of this cat obviously was paying zero attention because the cat was like sleeping on my face. So I don't know when, at any point he thought, I
Where the
haven't
fuck is
seen
this
the cat
cat?
I'm supposed to be taking care of for quite some time. Maybe I should go check on him.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
so then that kind of went out the window, and I thought that was going to be
Your new cat.
my cat, but In time.
In time, it'll happen.
Yeah, the right kitty will come along. But yeah, Charlie was like the love of my life. I have him tattooed on the back of my leg.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I want to get him tattooed. I already have a J for him, and my best friend's name is Janice. So my best friend's name is Janice, and my dog is Jupiter. So they're both J's. And then she has Tux, and I'm Tori. So we're both T's. So she has a T on her. I remember the day we actually figured that out. And then we have another roommate. Her name is Marcy, and her dog's name is Misha. So they're double M's. It's the cutest freaking thing. I'm like, everyone's paired up in this house. But I feel like pets always find you. And when you're supposed to have them.
Exactly. That's how I feel like. I mean, I could go into any, cat rescue place.
And pick a cat. Like, it'd be easy.
Take them all home. I mean, I want all of them to be happy and loved, But I do feel like Charlie found me. And I do feel like there's a way that I want it to be like the universe to decide.
How do you find you?
Sounds ridiculous.
No, I love that.
How did Charlie find me?
Mm-hmm.
My roommate, well, she wasn't my roommate yet. This girl who was moving in with me was like, "Oh, I have a cat," and he gets really upset when you pack. So,
He gets really pissed when I pack.
In fact, that was very true right up until the very end. Would it be okay if I bring him here and then pack up my apartment and move in? Yeah, totally. That's fine. And she was like, he's really skittish. He's not going to come anywhere near you. He's not a people person. He's not going to want to.
He was obsessed with you, wasn't he?
He was my cat. By the end of that night, he was in my hair, wrapped all up, and
oh my God.
that was the end of it. So she ended up becoming like my best friend. And, but when we were moving out, she was just obviously like, I can't
take this cat from you.
You guys are attached. There's no way. So, yeah, he chose me.
That's
I feel
so
like.
cute. I grew up with a cat, and it's crazy because I grew up with a cat, and then after the cat passed, I was never really around cats, and then when I was 15, a cat slept on my face, and I had a huge allergic reaction. I still kind of sneeze around cats, and I was like, that's so weird because I grew up with a cat. But I just had a healer come and do a whole session on me. And she literally walked into my room and she's like, let me just see what I feel. And I was like, okay. Whenever I meet someone that's like a healer or does psychic readings, I'm like a little on guard in the beginning because I feel like so many people are false. But she gave me such good vibes, such good energy. I was like, let's do it. So she goes over to Jupiter, who like immediately calms down when she walks over to him. It was crazy. And she's like, let me see if you guys have ever been in a life together. And she puts her hand over him and she's like, do you have a cat? No, I've never talked about this before in a podcast, so it's not like she watched my podcast. I talked about having a cat. Like, I don't really talk about cats, anything other than I'm allergic to cats. And she's like, did you have a cat when you were younger? I was like, yeah. She's like, did your cat get sick? I was like, yeah, she died of cancer. She's like, I'm pretty sure this is your reincarnated cat.
What?
I was like, that's wild. Like, why a dog, though? She goes, because you're allergic to cats.
Oh my gosh, got the
chills. I was like, what
Literally,
in the world?
Like, from my shoulders to my feet, I just got the chills.
And then it gets even weirder. I tell my mom this, and Jupiter does this thing where he takes his teddy bear and he like kneads it like a cat, and he'll like put his mouth on it and like knead it. And I tell my mom, and she goes, that's so weird because Puffy used to knead things all the time like Jupiter does. I was like, that's even further confirmation. Aww. And I don't really care what you believe in, whether you believe that my dog is my reincarnated cat, or whether you think I'm a fucking crazy person right now. But you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. It made a whole new different connection between me and Jupiter. I'm like, you watched me as a baby. Because my mom, this cat, oh my God, this is like the most beautiful story of like an animal finding you and you finding an animal at the right time. My mom was in college. Not the time when you get an animal. Like, that is not when you sign up for an animal. The place she was living in, she would hear meowing. And the people, like one of the other people in the building had a cat, and they would just leave it out on the roof. And she would hear meowing, meowing, meowing. And then one day she would like bring it back in and like yell at them, give them their cat back. Bring it back in, yell at them, like give them their cat back. Then they declawed her.
Oh.
So then she was really stuck on the roof. And the last time she went to them, she was like, if I have to come back here with this cat, I'm taking this cat. And they were like, you're not taking your cat, blah, blah, blah. She's like, if I find your cat out one more time in a dangerous situation for an animal, I'm taking this cat. She took the cat all the way to New York. Cat lived with us until it died of cancer, literally. She was always adopting cats, been taking cats since she was like a little kid. Aww. Like young. I was always obsessed with animals. I'm surprised she didn't like become a vegan sooner. She was just vegetarian. I think she just like didn't know. Because now that she knows, she like, you couldn't even. My dad sometimes is like, oh, like I miss seafood. Like I miss this, I miss that. She's like, no, I don't miss it.
Yeah.
I can make it better and I can make it vegan. Like that's her whole thing is like, I can make it better and I can make it vegan.
I would like to meet your mom.
100%. They just started a cooking show on their channel called Spicy Vegans.
Cool.
You should go on and cook with them, do an episode.
Yeah.
That would be so much fun.
That would be really fun.
I also have to introduce you to my friend Cindy. She makes these really good sauces, and her whole thing was like growing up in a Spanish household. That's really hard to convince your dad to eat vegan sour cream. So her whole thing was like, I want to figure out a vegan sour cream. And by God, she did it. It's so good.
Really?
I have my roommates are not vegan. They buy her sauces because they're obsessed with them. And that's when I feel like you have a really good product, because people get so like, oh, you're a vegan, or like, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't taste the same. What do you eat? Leaves? Where do you get protein? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, no one asks people that eat meat where they get their fiber. And that's definitely more important than protein. But you know what? We'll leave you alone. But if you have a product that people would normally think is something that they wouldn't want, and then they become obsessed with it, much like Pura Vita, that's to me when you're like, damn, I really got something. Because if you're showing up here and you genuinely usually eat meat and you decided to come here tonight to my restaurant, that means you like my stuff so much that you don't even care
That's so true.
if there's meat in it.
There's a few very, very regular guests who are not vegetarian. They're not anywhere in that world. And they just found us from the very beginning. We're just like,
Love it.
this is my favorite restaurant. I don't care that it's vegan. Yeah, and they're like, we take everybody here. We don't even tell them that it's vegan. I'm like, oh my God, it makes me so happy, you know?
But you shouldn't even have to say that. Like, you shouldn't have to be like, oh, we're going to this really great restaurant, but it's vegan.
But, yeah.
And that's like,
I don't like being the but. I don't like it.
nor should you like it. Like, you can't be in New York also and have a bad restaurant. There's too much good food. So you just having that standard of like, the food's got to be phenomenal.
It has to be good.
Because people got to leave their house in the freezing cold in a Canada Goose to come to a restaurant. So if the food's not good, no one's coming.
Yeah.
LA is obviously different. You get to go in a beautiful temperature, but still,
so
like,
spoiled
there's
here.
so many options for food that it really, you have to be amazing.
Yeah.
And you have to be amazing, especially to exist, because how many restaurants have you seen open for a year? And like, sometimes it is really good stuff, and then it's like the business end falls through.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do all of that, or do you have partners?
I have partners.
Okay.
And I think that, I mean, I like to think that my food is really,
I mean, I personally do.
really good. I like to think that.
I'm like, I will toot that horn.
think
Her
that it
food is
is.
really fucking good.
But I think the thing about Pura Vita that's different from some other places is that, like, it's super important for me that it's not just about the food that's in your plate. It's about the experience that you're having while you're eating it.
100%.
Which is why, like, I mean, thank God for, you know, that we did a lot of takeaway food during COVID. Otherwise, we wouldn't have survived. But, like, the takeaway thing, like, you can't
cultivate the
I don't want
experience.
you to eat my pasta or my pizza after it sat in a closed box, continuing to cook itself in its own steam. You
Yep.
know, it's not going to be al dente. It's not going to be how I want it to be presented to you. But when you come and you sit down and you meet your server and they treat you like they've known you for their whole life, and they remember you from last time, and they know what you like and what you don't like, and there's good music playing, and everybody's hanging out together, that's like a whole thing. It's
Literally.
a whole experience that's super important to me. It's not just about the food. It's like you have to like nurture people, you know? And I think that's part of what keeps people coming back all the time, you know? It's like when you walk
100%.
in the door, like we have this like little old lady who lives down the street, and she comes all the time, and she's like not vegan or vegetarian or anything of the sort.
I just like the energy.
When she walks in and everyone knows who she is, everybody gets super excited to see her, and she's special when she comes in. So
Yeah.
and she is super special, like she's the cutest. So it's like it's not like we're making believe, like she's
Yeah,
you
she's
know what
adorable.
I mean? Like, there's some people that you're just like, oh my God, they're here, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that's really important. That's a really important part of it, because you can go to a restaurant that has incredible food, you know, but the service is, even the service might be great, but it's not like warm.
Yeah.
And when that happens, for me personally, I'm less inclined to go back to that place, because
Oh,
it's like
100%.
I don't want to go someplace. I'm going to name names, but I used to go to this restaurant very regularly because I lived basically
right next
20
to it.
feet away from it.
Yeah.
And the food's great, but I went there so many times.
They
It's
never remembered
embarrassing. And every time it was like the first time they had ever seen me. And I'm like, really though?
You know
like,
how much
not that
money
I'm
I've spent
but, like,
here,
not that
though?
I'm anybody special. Like, not that you're supposed to roll out a red carpet for
No,
me.
but like your regulars remember.
You damn well know I've been here like a lot of times, like an embarrassing amount of times. Like, you can at least know that I'm familiar,
Literally.
let alone remember my name.
Hey, welcome back.
Yeah.
Like just even something like that.
And so I think that like over the years, those types of experiences is what, like, I've never run a business before. This is my first time, but I was gathering information of all the things that I wanted to not do.
Yeah.
Like, it was really important to me that we never do these things, because these are the things that turn me off. And it's just me. It's my personal experience, but I think we all tend to like and dislike a lot of similar things.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm that weird. I mean, I could be weird, but
I mean, like everyone wants to be treated.
we like to feel like nice,
Yeah.
comfortable.
Especially when you are taking the money that you worked really hard to earn to go to somewhere else to spend it to give it to someone else.
Right.
Like, not that you should, again, roll out the red carpet or like give me a gold star, but if I'm a consistent patron of you, at least
just be like, hi.
literally
Instead
even my weed guy's like, oh, you're such a great client, here's like an ounce. I'm like, this is amazing, I'm never leaving you. Like
Yeah.
little things like
Little
that.
things like that stay in your mind and go a long, long, long way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think not everybody realizes that.
No, because a lot of people are like kind of going through life of how can I get to a better spot? How can I very like focused on the ego, very focused on shutting everyone out, and like how can you do the best for you? And there's a certain demographic of people who are not that way, and it's more like how can I help? Of course, not help in like in a way to hurt myself. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, so I help you, I'm going to be so fucked up because I know that's going to help you. Like, no. But I like mutually beneficial organism living,
Yes.
where it's like, I help you, you help me.
100%.
And then I help you, and then you help me.
It has to be that way. And when it's not that way, things are becoming broken. That's why things are becoming so broken. And it's just like, you wish you could fix the world, or like try to explain to people like to treat other people just better. And then everybody would just be collectively more comfortable, even if you're not happy.
Literally.
At least you'd be more comfortable if like we just treat each other, with some level of respect. And remember that person is like just like you in that way, like is a person that like wants to feel good.
Yep.
It's very simple. It's not even a complicated thing, but not everybody feels that way. So, but anyway, I gathered a group of things that I just wanted to make sure never happened in my restaurant. And I try really hard to make sure that continues, that we continue to be like the super friendly, welcoming, no judgments. Like, it should be comfortable and fun, and
You're in
also
the perfect
you're gonna eat really
location
good
for
food
that.
and really good wine,
Literally.
and then all bets are off.
I love
You're guaranteed to
that.
have a good time.
So please let the spillers know one more time any socials you want to plug, where the restaurants are, anything that you want them to know before we sign off here.
Dear, we have so many Instagram pages.
Yes.
Well, we have the Pura Vita original page, which is Pura Vita, Puravita, not D.
No, it's Costa
Vita.
Rican.
It came from Costa Rica,
Yeah.
but I made it Italian. Pura Vita _LA is our main page. And then we have at Pura Vita Pizzeria, at Pura Vita Redondo, and my personal one is at Chef Tara Punzoni.
I love it.
Yeah.
And as per usual, I'm Tori 212 Green on all platforms, Tea with Tori podcast on Instagram, and I will see you spillers next Wednesday.
Thank you so much for listening.